Now, sports gamblers, Scott Spreitzer, one of the leaders and most trusted names in the country. Nobody watches and studies games more than he does. From TalkSports.com, here's Scott Spreitzer, exclusively on with Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
Scott, I know you've been doing this for a very long time. You've been coming on with us for over 17, 18, 20 years, whatever it's been. But is there times in this business still that you get the butterflies because it's such an incredible weekend of football that's about to take off here, or actually did last night, even with your Huskers?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like we were talking about this last week. There were some bettors down at the Circa here in Las Vegas, and we were meeting up last Friday and talking about bets as opposed to the bets for yourself that you have on your own and bets that you release to your clients. And I can tell you right now, first of all, I know money management. I've been doing this my entire life. So if I lose a game, a personal bet, I just move on. It's like, okay, bummer, but I'm playing what I can afford to lose with my betting bankroll. The games that really get you going in the stomach, the butterflies or the upset stomach or the games you're stressing, are the ones that you give to clients who have trusted you enough to give some of their hard-earned money towards your information. Those are the ones that stick with you. Those are the ones that are a little bit nervous. I can watch every single one of my games that I'm betting personally, and maybe I lose half the games that day or something. And again, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm ready to move on to the next day. So it's a two-road answer there. Personal bets doesn't even affect me at all. I know where we're going to be at the end of the season. Everything's good, even if you have a losing day. But when you got clients on board, again, boy, there's nothing like having – if you had a bad day, you just feel like crap for the clients.
Yeah. Well, just real quick, you being a Husker fan, I mean, will they ever just be able to get 6 instead of 3? I mean, it just seems like it's every time I'm at a Husker bar and, going, go Big Red, all that crap, right? And it was packed, but I could just feel the frustration that, they're going to get another field goal. I mean, what is it with you Husker fans? I mean, can you get a quarterback in there that can maybe, get some 6s in there?
Well, throw more than 6 yards down the field, too. How about that?
That's what bothered me, guys. You get Holgerson in there, and I know he likes to throw to his running back. He's that, but I'm sitting there watching the game, and I'm like, I started thinking, I was watching the first half with some friends. I watched the second half at home by myself, and I went back and watched a little bit of the replay, and I'm like in the fourth quarter going, have they called a pass play more than 10 yards downfield today? Stretching the defense. And the thing is this guy's got an unbelievable arm, Dylan Raiola. Yeah. And then, of course, the mistakes that this team makes year in, year out. They're down there at, I think the score at the time was 10-3, maybe. No, 6-3. I don't know. Anyway, it's first half, and they're, first and goal at the 1, 5-yard penalty. And I'm sitting there. It was actually second and goal at the 1. They're lining up to do the tush push, which they gained an easy first down earlier in the first half. They're second and goal at the 1, and they've got a lineman who jumps off. And I'm just sitting there going, this is Nebraska football for the last decade. It's, and they ended up kicking a field goal, as you said, instead of getting a touchdown there, and they're all of a sudden up by double digits and, looking maybe to move away from Cincy a little bit. I thought the two things that bothered me the most, the lack of a deep pass, and again, it's got to be called by Holgerson. I just thought it was ridiculous, some of the play calling. And then secondly, holy cow, Tony White, who's now at Florida State, defensive coordinator, boy, do they seem like they miss him against the run. I mean, you had the quarterback for Cincy plus another back for Cincy who just chewed Nebraska up and spit him out on the ground. And that's worrisome, I think, moving forward. So they'll be 3-0. They got Sisters of the Poor the next 2 games. Then they host Michigan. Every game on their schedule after the next 2 weeks is as losable as it is winnable. So it's going to be another nail-biting season for Husker fans.
Need the black shirts, baby. Need the black shirts back. All right, let's get to Texas, Ohio State to start the morning off. I mean, of course, Tennessee and Syracuse going off at the same time. But handicapping this one, a couple young quarterbacks, a lot of pressure.
Yeah, guys, there's 4 new offensive line starters for Texas. And a few years ago, this would have, I think, really mattered to me. But thanks to the portal and paying kids the money they have through the NIL program, A program like these two, elite-level programs, Texas, Ohio State, with all that money, I think the replacements in positions like the O-line, a lot of times, as we've seen since the portal became so, efficient and such a big part of college football, that those replacements can be as good as their so-called predecessors, if not better in some cases. Where the loss matters to me, obviously, at elite-level programs, quarterback. They've got Arch Manning now for Texas, and they've got Julian Sand for Ohio State. He's making his first start for the Buckeyes in a very high-profile game. As far as Manning, I think he has more tools than Ewers, and I don't want to take away too much from Ewers, but he can run, Manning. He can escape pressure. And if you remember last year in the playoff game, it's 21-14 Buckeyes. There's about 2 minutes to go in the fourth. Ewing's at quarterback. They've got the ball at the Ohio State 8-yard line. They're 8 yards away from tying the game up with about a minute or so to go. And Ewers, to no fault of his own, gets sacked. Ohio State returns a fumble, 83 yards, game-clinching touchdown. The DC who was calling all those great blitz schemes is Jim Knowles. He's down over at Penn State. I really think Texas is going to pull the upset. Now, whether I'm wagering on it or not is a different story. And I tell people, if they like Ohio State, don't fear this report. A bettor just put $500,000 on Texas yesterday here in Las Vegas. Great. I'm sure he's got deep pockets. Doesn't mean he's sharp. So just if you like a side, go for it. I think Texas is going to get him in this one.
All right, second game, Scott. Alabama, last time I checked, minus 13.5 at Florida State. I got to imagine Mike Norvell has got to break through at Florida State. Maybe not this game, but does his offense, does he keep this bad boy close?
It's a 14-point spread now. I really believe it's one of those, I got to see this game before he can jump in with a wager. I mean, Florida State goes from, playoffs in 2023 to 2-10 last year. And yes. Mike Norvell brings in a new coaching staff. I mentioned Tony White, great DC. He steals him away from Lincoln, brings him to Tallahassee. They get Gus Malzahn, good offensive coordinator, strong play calling, when his mind is just glued to making those calls for the offense. And no matter where Alabama's Kalen DeBoer is coached, his teams have all taken a big positive jump in year two. I do believe the Seminoles will be better in 2025. I just don't like the matchups in this early season game against Bama. So I think Bama gets them, and probably by about 17.
All right, LSU, Clemson, two proud programs meeting early. This would be the game of the weekend if we weren't talking about Texas, Ohio State. How are you handicapping this one? Is it still minus 4.5, Clemson?
Yeah, mostly fours out there now. Some sharper money came in on LSU, and you can lose an early season game, as you guys know, an hour or two and be in the playoffs when you're an elite level program. I think it's a big game for Clemson because the rest of their schedule is soft. Win this, and they're not going to lose at home the rest of the way. They've got a bunch of softies. Their toughest road spot will be at South Carolina in all likelihood, which is the season finale. They play a grand total of 3 teams that are currently ranked this game, and then SMU at home, and then South Carolina to finish up the season. And having said that, any way you watch Clemson, or when you watched Clemson last year against SEC teams, they got killed. They lost 38-24 to Texas. Check these stats out, guys. Texas ran on Clemson for 292 yards on 48 carries. They lost to South Carolina. Carolina, 267 yards, 47 carries. They got blown off the field by Georgia early in the season. The Bulldogs, 27 carries, 169 yards. That's 0-3 last year against the SEC. They gave up 728 yards rushing, 243 yards per game on nearly 6 yards per carry. So there's all this talk about this fierce Clemson defensive front. They were nothing but soft against the SEC last year. The question is LSU's offensive line. There's a lot of talk out there that it's struggled in camp. I think they'll be fine eventually. I do like Nussmeier. I do like Klubnik. I think LSU, though, can hang this number, and I hate backing Brian Kelly in openers, but I think that 4.5 was a little too big for Clemson. Got to see them actually come out and not get popped in the chops and wilt against SEC ground games.
All right, it's got the game here tomorrow night. NAU at Arizona State. Excuse me, I found out if this Connor was telling me, who played at Utah Tech, that they typically won't come out with a line till the day of the game because it's FBS versus FCS. And if that is tomorrow, you have an idea where that might come out at?
Yeah, actually, there's some books that have already posted it, and a lot of them will do it with these matchups on Friday afternoons. And so we do have a line. Arizona State's a 28.5 point favorite, and the total's 52.5. So they're essentially saying ASU 41-12. That's essentially what the books are telling us.
Okay.
And last year, we know what happened. ASU was expected to be at the bottom of the conference, and they turned in a fantastic season. They're no longer under the radar. And I heard that there's, the first opening game sellout in 27 years. I heard something like that today. But both teams return a bunch of regulars, including their starting quarterbacks. I like Brian Wright, by the way, the Lumberjacks coach, 45-13 record, and he changed, NAU from a sub-500 2023 into an FCS playoff team, in his first season. They got to be able to run the football, but everyone's back at ASU. I know they have no Scattaboo on offense. They've had some issues in August in the middle of the offensive line at center. But 41-12 seems about right for me. So I think ASU wins this one. And again, it's going to be like 41-10, 41-13 in that neighborhood.
All right, the Catholics versus the contenders. Notre Dame, Miami, that was always fun back years ago. The big game on Sunday night. How you handicapping this?
Yeah, to use a line from The Godfather, guys, that just popped into my head. As soon as I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. And that's what happened with this game because Miami went to 3, and I had to jump in and grab the points with the Canes. I'm taking the points here. All indications are that Carson Beck is taking to his new offense and new team pretty well. Miami has what they believe is their best offensive line in years. They made philosophical changes on the defense that creates multiple looks, pre-snap looks for quarterbacks. The Irish are starting a freshman in C.J. Carr, and he hasn't exactly torn it up in camp from what everybody close to the program has been saying. He's also on the road, first start in a big game and playing behind an offensive line that's missing its top lineman. I look at both defenses, plenty of talent, depth. The difference, though, for me, comes on the opposite side of the football, and I think the Canes hold the early season advantage. So I jumped in and took the field goal with Miami, guys.
In the hot, muggy Miami environment, on top of everything. All right, last but not least, Hawaii traveling down to Tucson, Arizona. Last time I looked, the Cats were minus 17.5. Are the Hawaii Warriors? That'd be careful and say Rainbow Warriors. Yeah. Are they live or are they Memorex after beating
Hawaii
Stanford
got so lucky last year. Last week. They're down 20-17. Stanford is driving down the field. They either go up 6 or get the game clincher and go up by 10, and they throw a pick around the Hawaii 20-yard line and let Hawaii right back in the game. And that was kind of late in the fourth quarter when that bad pass was picked off. It was, I think, the 24-yard line of Hawaii. I'm going to dispel one incorrect belief, at least from a betting perspective, with this game as the example. Teams playing their second game are a losing proposition when facing a team playing its first game, which kind of goes against conventional thinking.
Yeah.
Those teams play in their second game 46% against the spread the last 457 times. And if you break it down a little further, home teams play in their first game of the season against an opponent playing its second. Those home teams, 61-42. That's 59% against the spread when they're laying double digits. I mentioned what happened with Hawaii last week. I had a buddy of mine who's down there for visa, and they sent him down there to cover the game. He was telling me Hawaii's treating this like their Super Bowl. They want to beat Stanford. They want to beat a Power 4 team. And I don't know that they get back emotionally. I also thought they were underwhelming. And, of course, the quarterback's a little banged up, even though last I saw he was expected to go. It's a big number, and it went up from 13.5 over the summer. I think Arizona gets the win and covers this number, guys.
Awesome. Have a wonderful weekend, Scott. Thank you, as always.
You two guys, take care.
Scott Spreitzer, DocSports.com. You can follow him on X at Scott Wins, giving us all the lines there. As I think last week I went 80% with what he had for week 0.